Hello, everybody. So it is that time of the year again where we're starting to get into, well, who's staying and who's not staying. So we have quite a large squad now at Wycombe. A lot of players, including the youth prospects, the lads who are out on loan, who don't have contracts. Now, as far as I'm aware, Luke Lee, Jasper Pattenden, and Brandon Hanlon all have deals that have been announced publicly that will continue past the end of this year. Everybody else, we don't know about. Of course, there could be new signings, or there could be new contracts having already been signed that we don't know about. Part of being a Wycombe fan is unfortunately knowing that sometimes we don't get told things as soon as they actually happen. So I thought it would be a great time to look at all the players, apart from the loans and those three who I mentioned, and talk about whether I believe, which could be open to interpretation, they should stay or what should happen with them. So you can see I've got 5 categories here on the left. Keep at all costs, self-explanatory. Keep, self-explanatory again. On the fence, so these are players that I wouldn't necessarily immediately want to keep, but if we kept them, if Bloom decided they have a role to play, I would not be against seeing him stay. So open to keeping, or that's more for the development players like Woodhouse, for example, who they've only had a year or so here. They've got more time to give them another year or so to develop, maybe go on another loan or play in some of the Papa John's Trophy games next season, and let's see what they're about. And then don't renew. Players that I think, for whatever reason, we shouldn't keep at the club past this year. So starting off strong, Chris Frino Joseph has been pretty good. I think he's been quite unfortunate that he's been replaced by Joe Lowe in the squad. It's difficult because Chris is a very, very good player. I would love to see him stay. I think a lot of us would love to see him stay. He's really made himself his name stay. I remember MK away in the Carabao, was it? Where he scored and got the bloody nose and came over. That was just fantastic. Yearly injury happened last month, I believe. These things happen with Chris. It's unfortunate. You sort of expect it by now, so it's annoying. I would be happy, more than happy, to keep him. I think he's a fantastic player with role to play. Second up, I believe, let me just double check, I have it up on my other screen. I believe that is that Clark? Yes, it's Taylor Clark. I'm happy to keep him. I've heard good things about him. In all honesty, could be a very good little player. Yeah. Franco Ravazzoli. 2 months ago, this would have been very, very different. I probably would have been like, I'm okay to keep him. Franco has been fantastic these past couple of weeks. Since Striak got that red card. He's really shown himself. He's really, really played to absolutely a fantastic level. He said in an interview he wants to be the first choice, and he's making a strong, strong case for it. I don't necessarily think he suits the way Blooms would want his goalkeeper to play. I'll talk about that more with Max. He's not a passer, he's not a sweeper keeper, he's not a distributionist, but he's shown himself to be a very, very reliable pair of hands in the goal. So I'll be more than happy to keep him. Gareth McCleary, now my girlfriend Annie absolutely adores GMAC. I really like him as well. I think he's an evergreen player, somebody who can keep performing at a really high level. I think the only thing would be, I think he'd have to potentially accept that he's potentially not going to be the main starter anymore next season. We are going to get to a stage where he's not going to be able to play every game, where he's not going to be able to start every single game, where he's going to be more of a rotation choice rather than the main man. Difficult one to swallow, perhaps, but I would love to see him stay. Jack Grimmer. Hands down one of the best players of the season. I think he should be captain, to be honest with you. Scowen has been fantastic, but Jack is just... I wouldn't be surprised if he's already tied down to another year or two, because he's been absolutely vital. He's been amazing up that right-hand side. He's shown a defensive ability that he showed last year when he was playing that sort of centre-back role, but he's also now improved offensively, where he's making these fantastic runs, these fantastic overlapping runs that are enabled by the right winger, be it Kem Campbell or GMAC. I've also not included the loans, by the way, just in case you're wondering where Dale Taylor, Freddie Potter or stuff like that. I'm going to do a separate video on that. Grimmer's been fantastic. We need to keep him at all costs. Oh, Hanlon, I've put in by accident. He's already got a new deal. So I went down to Wycombe Wanderers website and I just copied all the pictures from that. It was the best way to get them all standardised. I couldn't get access to Manny Miller. I'll do him now. Free loans, Rochdale, Sutton, Rochdale again. He's not performed to the pedigree that would have been suggested by being a Man United youngster. He's had time to develop, he's had time to cook, and he hasn't. And I think it's time to say goodbye to Damani. Joe Jacobson. Love JJ to bits. He was a phenomenal player in his prime, but he's nowhere near his prime anymore. We saw it last season. He didn't have the defensive reading, the experience to play at centre-back, but his legs just don't have the energy in them to play that left-back role anymore. I would be open to keeping him, but I think it's time to say goodbye, and I do feel very bad for that. I'd love to see him come back as a coach. I'd love to see him do the same sort of thing Matt Bloomfield did and start coaching after the end of his career. I think he could be fantastic at that. Bringing his experience as a set-piece specialist to the squad. But, yeah, I don't think he's not... How many times has he played this year? Played a little bit at the start of the season. Since then, I think that says a lot about what the future plans are for JJ. And I will be devastated to see him go, but I'm glad he stayed this year to get that testimonial, to have that night where it was about him. And I'm really glad that happened, but I think it's now time to say goodbye. Richard Kone, keep at all costs. This is me just loving Richard Kone, my favourite player at Wycombe so far. I just adore Richard Kone. He had that astounding first game in the Papa John's Trophy, and then he's been good. There's things that need developing. He needs to calm down on the fouls. He energetic, excited. He wants to get involved. Does give away fouls a little bit too often. Needs to work on just general things. But it's only been, 3 months since he joined us? It's nearly 4. That's fantastic for a player who was playing at, a much lower level, to immediately come in and against professional youngsters, professional EFL players, and do what he's doing is phenomenal. I hope to God we've got him down the 2 or 3 year deal, because next season, I think we expected him to be good. I think we expected him to maybe go out on loan to the Vanarama or even League 2. I don't think we expected him to be capable of immediately slotting in and being a strong squad option for us. I think next year is his year in terms of pushing potentially for a place, but Joe Lowe as well. I remember when we had that photo against Arsenal on the 21s, was it? And there was that little photo of the trialist who had the tattoo and the shoes. And I think George from the Wycombe Way figured out the tattoo, and I figured out the boots were Joe Lowe. Aren't we glad he joined? What a signing. I believe it was a free or very low fee, similar to Max Striek, similar to how Wimbledon got Ali Al-Hamadi off us. But my lord, he's been phenomenal. He was with the Wales senior squad. Not sure what's going on with him at the moment. Must have an injury, must have something just keeping him out for a little bit, which is disappointing, but it's one of those things that does happen in football. That's why you have a squad and not just 11. He's phenomenal. He's a Rolls-Royce centre-back who makes difficult dribbles, difficult passes look easy. And sometimes it looks like that sort of Mawson Tafazoli combination we had last season with Lowe and Tafazoli this season. We need to sign him for a new contract. We need to keep him. I wouldn't be surprised to see a championship club come in for him. Yeah. Bez Labala. I wasn't expecting too much from Berley. I think he had 5 goals and 5 assists at Burton, but I think I sort of went, okay, well, he went from being the main man at Burton to now being part of the squad. I didn't expect him to necessarily start every game. I thought he'd play mostly as a winger. I thought he would potentially be the long-term GMAC replacement, but actually he's shown up front in the middle where Dale Taylor plays currently. He's really strong. The desire, the passion, the electric presence he brings to the pitch every time he's on it is phenomenal. he could be a really strong option. I think he's only 25 as well. A lot of game left in that lad. And this is quite an interesting thing we've seen at Wycombe. We've transitioned from a squad that a lot of times had a bit of an older squad to a much younger squad. You think about it. Only out of these players that I want to keep, only Gareth McCleary so far is getting on in age in terms of 36, 37. A lot of these players are young. I mean, Kone's what, 21, Chris is 22, I think Joe Lowe's 21. We have a great young squad now. And that's amazing to see, that sort of transition. Jason McCarthy... I'm on the fence. He's one that personally I wouldn't keep, but if Bloom said, yeah, we're keeping him for an extra season as a backup option as depth, I would be like, okay, I understand. He's not impressed me this season. Every time he's came on, it's he's a very Gareth Ainsworth player. He is passionate, he has desire, he has work rate. He will run through a brick wall for you, but the technical ability, the passing ability, I don't think is there. And Grimm has shown he can improve and develop that, as we've seen this season. I don't know if Jason has. He's obviously been injured for a long time, so maybe when he has a run at games, a run of training, he'll be able to improve. So I see reasons to keep him. I think if you're looking at right back, you're looking at Kane Vincent-Young, who we'll talk about later. You've got Grimmer. Theoretically, Pattenden can play there. Pattenden not in this, of course. He signed a new deal, which is fantastic to see. Pattenden was brilliant at that right wing back role while both of them were injured. So, no matter what happens with Jason, sorry, I'd understand that. I would prefer to see him go, but I understand there could be utility in having him stay. Sadly, keep at all costs. What a fantastic pickup! He has been electric. I was going to say he started out a bit slow, but actually, at the time, all of our players weren't performing at the level that we expected, that I think they expected, or the gaffer expected, before we started picking up form in January. Changed that 4-2-3-1 rather than the 5 back. Do have to say, Kyle did say to me, thinking September, get rid of the 5 back, play a 4-4-2, and yeah, he was right. Bastard. Sadly, it has been immense, and I hope to God, because he's one we picked up after the window, I presume it runs to the end of the season. I don't know whether it'll be 2 years. We can't make assumptions. So for all these, I'm going to assume they're end of the year. He needs, please God, let Salia say, still young, 27, I believe. That's left wing lockdown, I think. Insane player. I'm going to be very, very harsh here. I think this will be not necessarily what people believe. I think it's time for Sam to go. He had a phenomenal first season. Amazing first season. And since then, what we've got is injuries and inconsistency. And one of the things I think we do best now is we press from the front. Imagine, for example, the way we've been playing recently. We've had Nubala up front, Dale behind him, Sally to the left, G-Mac to the right, for example, or, Kem Campbell, or Gideon Caldura, or we've got options. We press from the front. We press high. We force the opposition to make mistakes. Think of that game against Peterborough where we continually forced that keeper into mistakes. We don't have that with Vokes. He's a target man, and we just don't look good with a target man. Since January, I think he's largely been a passenger. And he wins his aerial duels, but I don't think he's right for us now. I think he's still a League One player. I think there's quality there. I don't think he's the right player for us. That's the difference. That would be controversial, I think. Shala, I'm open to keep. Kosovian under 21 player, really unlucky with a collarbone break, was it? I think he was on loan. I think we should give him a contract to help him rehabilitate that collarbone at the very least. At the end of the day, you need a second, third choice goalkeeper like Shala. He would have been the backup instead of bringing in. I haven't got Nathan Shepherd down. I would probably make Nathan Shepherd and keep. I do watch a bit of League of Ireland. I've been very impressed with his games at Dundalk. Better at distribution than I'd say Franco or Striek. I would have said keep Shepherd, but I forgot to add him. That's my fault. Yeah, keep Shala. At the end of the day, hopefully he'll recover from his injury and he can go out on loan again to non-league where we can then recall him if necessary. I think there's a player in there. And also, it's just kind of cool to have a player called up to the under-21s. It's, you know what I mean? It's a new thing for Wycombe, that sort of thing, having, you know, Shallow and Dale and Chris called up. Another controversial one. Too many rushes of blood to the head. Hasn't been the same shot stopper. He had that howler against Barnsley. He had that red card. Mistakes are becoming more common. He looks really uncomfortable playing the ball at his feet, which I think Blooms wants. Franco has arguably been better since he came in. I don't think we should keep him. I think we should build a statue outside of Adams Park if we win in the final, mind. I think it's paradoxical because that game against Bradford, he was immense, absolutely insane. There was no doubt in my mind that was one of the best Wycombe performances, like individually, I have seen while watching Wycombe, to be honest with you. But at the same time, it's more of a long-term thing. I don't think he suits where we're going in the long term. Which is harsh. Very, very harsh to say. I think it's a case of it's right for both parties if he moves on. I don't think he'll be comfortable playing the football Matt wants to play. He hasn't looked at it at all. I love him to bits, and I will adore him even after he leaves, and I'll wish him fond farewells. It's not like other players who've left. I'm like, I love Max, but I think it's best for both parties if he gets a move somewhere else. Tafazoli, keep, been very, very good. Hasn't had his knockwood annual injury yet. Didn't impress me at the start of the season. Has impressed me since January, but I'm trying not to be too harsh because there was very few players at the start of the season that I've looked at and went, yeah, they're good. Or they're playing to the standard that I know we can play at. That I know they. Tafazoli was one of those players that, especially 32, big leader, experienced player that I was looking going, he's not playing to the standard that I expect. He is now. Looks much better in the formation. Looks fantastic alongside Joe Lowe. Happy to keep him. Very happy to keep him. I believe, is that Ward? Let me double check again. I believe that is Christy Ward. Yep, I'm happy to keep Let Him Cook. And I'm happy to do that with Woodhouse as well. Both young players. Both given time to develop. I don't think there's a lot to say there. Obviously, we don't get to watch development matches. Not like other clubs where they play under 18 or under 21 matches in open games, in open leagues. These all happen behind closed doors. They go out and loan to places where, well, you can't watch it. So, I'm happy to keep them both. Young on the fence. He's 22 now, I believe. He's been here 2.5 years now. I was impressed with him during pre-season. Went out and loaned to Ayr. Didn't set the world on fire. Performed well. Didn't do astoundingly. I was very impressed with him in pre-season, but obviously pre-season's a different matter. I was impressed by Demani Mello in pre-season. Yeah. So, I'll be open to keeping him, but I think more leaning towards don't renew. But I see there could be something there. If Bloom sees something that perhaps we don't on the training ground. That makes sense. Butcher. What? Some of our recent signings have been absolutely immense. He offers us something different as well. For example, Scarron. We'll talk about Scarron actually in a minute. I forgot about that. Butcher has been fantastic in that sort of defensive midfield role alongside Potts. Does the hard yards, does the running, but shows technical quality. Those 2 goals. And that goal against Bradford, fantastic goals, you have to say. Shown himself to be a real highlight player, standout player for us since he's joined. A lot of Plymouth fans saying, look, he's not championship quality, but he's a high-end League One quality player, and we can see that. He could be a really solid part of a long-term team. Kane Vincent-Young, if it weren't for his injury problems, keep at all costs. When he has got up to speed, he has been immense. Down both sides, left and right hand side, which is saying something. He's just been very unlucky. He's got injured, he came back, he got injured again. It's difficult with Kane Vincent-Young, but he's the sort of quality player that if we get players in who can replace him in the meantime, if he's injured, absolutely brilliant player. Love to see him stay. Scowen, keep, yeah. He's now an attacking midfielder. And he's doing well at it. That's insane, to say the least. But he's done it really well. He's actually done it, like, surprisingly well. Obviously, he's offering his energy and his pressing ability and tenacity high up the pitch, which I talked about earlier. But he's actually technically very good as well. Did you expect it? Did I expect it? God, no. Is it working? Absolutely. I'm not going to stare a gift horse in the mouth. I don't think Blooms is either. When Dale leaves, for example, I reckon he could play behind well, whoever's playing up front. Vokes, Kone, Blubala, whoever it is up front, he could play behind them. Wow. Yeah, happy to keep. Skura looked fantastic in those Papa John's Trophy games. Went out to Ebbsfleet, doing well at Ebbsfleet. He could be the next one. Out of all the academy players, development players, I think it is Skura who is going to be that next one to make the step into first team football. You obviously have Mehmeti, you've had Chris. Patton did, I would argue, yes. So I think it's Skura next. Really good little centre-back by the looks of it. Was injured last season as well, had a pretty bad injury, and he's done superb to come back from it. Especially with Tafazoli, he's going to be 33. Chris and Lowe both will likely have interest in them. I'd say Skura could be that next one to make that step up. That is Wakely. Really unfortunate that he had that, ACL injury, I think it was? Broken leg, something like that. He's had a long time. I was surprised we kept him last season. And unless he set the world on fire with Ebbsfleet this year, which he hasn't, I wouldn't have thought we'd keep him either. Yeah, I think he needs to go. I think it's time. We've given him the time. I think he's had the chance to integrate into the first team. Hasn't really done that. It's time to say goodbye and let him move on to a club where he can make that step permanently, at whatever level it is. Wheeler. See, Wheeler, for me, super reliable player, Swiss Army man, but that red card has really annoyed me, to be honest with you. That red card really... He is an experienced player. And I understand, I think it was Cosgrove was winding him up a little bit. That happens in football, and you can't lash out like that. And with a decision over somebody who's going to be 33, who's not a regular star, I think that potentially has made that decision a little bit easier for Bloomfield. I think I'll move him on the fence, because if Blooms kept him, if we signed another year extension, I would understand. He can play in a lot of positions, he can play everywhere, he's good, he's got experience with Wycombe, he's got experience in the league. Really good in the air. I would understand why we kept him, but that red card did just annoy me, and I think that's soured my opinion on Wheeler a bit. But that's the team. I think it's really impressive that, out of the players I'm saying not to renew, I think there's two controversial ones, but one's 37 and hasn't played a season. Two are players who've been out on loan and haven't impressed. But a lot of the regular starters I want to keep, which I think says a lot about, especially the new players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 new players. Well, technically Skira's not new, but 8 new players I want to keep. Which speaks to the level of recruitment. Obviously, I can't talk about Kem Campbell. I can't talk about Dale Taylor, Freddie Potts. I would keep almost all the loans if we could permanently, but that's not going to happen. Freddie Potts is going to go to the Championship or even rotate for Wet. You know what I mean? So, let me know what you think. I don't doubt I've been a little bit controversial here. I don't doubt there'll be some people who disagree with me, but that's my opinion. And I hope you have a great day. Cheers, boys.